English. So I'm very pleased to introduce Zach Romanoff. He's the president of Omni Food Sales, and he's a brand advocate. He's helping a lot of brands navigate and accelerate in the retail landscape in the New York region. So Zach, please.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, thanks for being here.
For sure. Good afternoon, everybody. Oh,
Last two ones.
perfect. Good afternoon, everybody. Thank you, Guy. My name is Zach Romanoff, and I am the president of Omni Food Sales, and we are what you would call a food broker. And I know a lot of you have probably heard that term before. Some of you may use them now. Some of you may not. Just by a show of hands, how many people in here have used or are using a broker right now?
Nobody is
No one.
Okay.
Just that we want to sell.
They want to enter the US market.
Okay. And every manufacturer here is from France, correct?
Yeah.
Yes.
Awesome. And are we all excited for the Fancy Food Show? I look forward to this event every year. There's a lot of good food. I hope you've got some comfortable shoes. Are any of you exhibiting at the show?
No.
So we're walking the show. Yes, you are exhibiting.
Yes, with a partner.
Awesome. So a little bit about me. Omni Food Sales is a broker. I grew up in a family business in the retail landscape here, calling on supermarkets. So I grew up picking orders. I grew up delivering orders on a truck throughout the 5 boroughs, throughout New Jersey, Pennsylvania, upstate New York, and more. I'm very comfortable in the back of a supermarket. I've been in the back of a supermarket watching products come in and then putting it out on shelves since I was like 10 years old. So obviously, I have a lot of experience, and I've worked in the 3 different sectors of Omni Food Sales over the last 15 years. And we have 3 sectors, and you heard Guy said that we are an advocate and not a broker. I coined that phrase several years ago because I didn't think that the word broker accurately described the role that we played in the process of taking products and bringing them to market. You know, broker is what you think of when, like a stockbroker, someone's like brokering a one-time deal, or a mortgage broker. This is not a one-time deal. There's nothing about the food industry that is a one-time deal. All right, it's hard to get your products onto shelves, and then once you get your products onto shelves, that's when the clock starts ticking, and that's when the real fun begins. So what the word that came to mind for me is advocate. Like an attorney who has a client who fights and claws for everything and gives their client all the opinions and options and ways that something could go, that's what you need. So I encourage you all to find an advocate, and it doesn't need to be someone like me. It could be someone on your own team. But the bottom line is someone who cares, someone who really knows, someone who's going to go the extra mile, someone who's going to make that extra email, pick up that phone call when it's 6 o'clock at night and they don't have to, but a buyer called them because that's when the opportunity came, and they're going to take that call and they're going to follow up and they're going to do whatever needs to be done to get that product on the shelf. Because in the US, and particularly in the Northeast market, that's what it takes to succeed. The competition is so cutthroat, is so fierce. You need someone that's constantly ready to go. And if someone treats it like a 9 to 5 and it's just a job that they do and they're counting down the minutes till the weekend, you've got the wrong person. So select carefully and take your time. It's better to have no representative than having the wrong representative, because choosing the wrong person, they're going to represent you. And you only have one chance to make a first impression. And if you have someone that's not representing you the way that you want, it's going to not portray your brand and your image and your products the way that you want it to. So I can talk more about my experience, my relationships, my expertise, but I want this to be beneficial for you. So what are some of the topics or questions that you'd like to ask or hear about?
What do you look at when you've got a first contact with a potential supplier? What do you look at first in terms of value proposition, just to make sure to work or not with that company?
That's a great question. We get pitched a lot.
A new supplier.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a great question. What do we look for? The number one thing I look for is, will this product sell on shelves in the top retailers in the country? That's the number one thing I look for. I'll look at this package of macaroons or baguette or whatever it is, and I'll say, can I see this in the leading retailers in the Northeast? Do I see it fitting on the case? Now, everyone has a place in the case. There's premium, there's mid-tier, there's value play. So where is your positioning? That's the number one thing I look for. Can I see it on the shelf? The number two thing I look for is management. There's an expression, bet on the jockey, not the horse. And that is true. I've seen some really great products not reach the light of day, not reach shelves, because they had a manager that was a complete micromanager and didn't delegate and didn't trust and didn't know how to communicate properly, whether to their own colleagues or to customers. So I think very carefully about who I'm partnering with, because everyone in this room, and we're talking here with owners and C-level executives here, time is our number one asset. So I think really carefully about the values, about the communication style, and just overall, is this a good person that demonstrates good moral judgment that I want to partner with?
Any questions?
Can we be a bit challenging? Yeah?
The food industry is challenging, so.
No, but we had a testimony this morning, and he explained to us that he didn't go with the broker, where that value was going, and how could you justify this? So here we've got potential new customers. Could you justify why you need a broker?
Yeah, the hardest part of my job is getting new business. As the president, is representing our company and then getting new brands to hire us. And over the course of these years, I've been to food shows all over the country, and I've been in hundreds of interviews with new potential clients, food brands, manufacturers. And over the years, I've developed really great relationships, and then we sit down, and I've heard horror stories from them about their previous relationships with brokers. And I've heard a lot of them, and a lot of people grew reservations and grew cautious about entering partnerships with me in Omni Food Sales because of their previous bad experiences. And there's a lot of them. And there's so many of them, those bad brokers were giving the entire industry a bad name. Some of them are a lot of years my senior. They've been around a lot longer than me. So that's why I coined the phrase brand advocate, because we really are different than other brokers out there. And so what do you really want from the broker relationship? Do you want someone that you're not going to pay a lot, you just want to minimize the cost? Or do you want a partner? Do you want someone that's going to bring you great ideas proactively and is going to help drive your business so that you could think about competitive issues, legislative issues, and just overall how to make your brand and your products better? The other thing that I did was I wrote a book, and it's called Death of a Broker, How a Brand Advocate Was Born. And it's right here, because I've been in so many interviews. Yes. Yeah, thank you for asking that one.
Get one, right?
Yes. So in the interviews, I realized I could just tell you all day, I'm not like the others, I'm not like the others, I'm not like the others. And you're not going to know.
First you wrote a book. So you're not like the others.
When I meet brands now and we're talking, rather than me saying I'm different, I just hand them the book. And I say, listen, read it at your leisure, take it at your time, take a look. And I actually give examples of the horror stories in the book. I actually want to share the horror stories that I've heard, because I'm not hiding anything. I'm sharing with everyone. Listen, I've had brands get bad advice and they're stuck with six-figure bills that their broker advised them to participate and actually okayed them to take, sometimes unauthorized, told them to offer promotions that were really deep for a long time. The brand was like, what is this? What is this bill? So I've seen it all. And I'm a little bit old school. My mentor was a former butcher named Jimmy Aiello. He was a butcher for Sloan's, Red Apple, and Gristedes. Gristedes is one of the largest chains here in Manhattan. They have about 30 stores. He was my mentor, and he served in Vietnam in the war. And he did not let me skate. There was nothing free about it. If I came into the office at 7:15 in the morning, he said, "Good afternoon, sunshine. I'm glad you came today." I mean, he did not let me slide at all. Follow-up notes had to be sent out the same day. These horror stories, these things about brokers, it just didn't exist with Jimmy. And I also looked up to him a lot. So I may be young compared to some of my peers, but I have an old school work ethic, but I also know how to use today's technology, and I merge it all together. So it makes me a little bit unique, but the book has been received quite well. It has been buyers from retailers that have came up to me or reached out to me and have said, thank you so much for writing this book, because I've dealt with bad brokers before and I've had bad experiences before, and I thought about writing this too, and I'm so glad that you actually put this on paper. So the book has helped a lot in getting my core values and key values out, and also the values that Omni Food Sales exercises daily. So that's been part of differentiating us as well. Yes.
You convinced? You are convinced?
Thank you for that question.
So, question regarding a retailer when he works with a broker versus when he works with a distributor. What is different for him? What advantages or what ease does he get by working with a broker? It's just for us to understand the whole distribution system and the role that a broker versus a distributor plays in the relationship with a retailer.
That's a great question. Retailers generally prefer working with brokers because brokers understand their business model. So the retailers here in New York City, Gristedes, Morton Williams, when you look outside the city, those are the big chain retailers. Every one of them has their own way of doing business. They all have their own philosophy. They all have their own entry costs. They all have their own ways of promoting. They all have their ways of giving back to the community. A broker comes in and has experience. And generally, to be a good, successful broker, you have to represent other lines, which means you have experience and you have business going on right now. Buyers, we talked about time earlier. Time is our #1 asset. People don't want to waste it. Buyers really don't want to waste it. A buyer's job is not how it was 10, 15, 20 years ago. There's labor issues all across the country still in stores from the lowest levels of stocking shelves on up. And it influences buyers because buyers are now doing multiple jobs at once. So buyers, they actually want someone that's familiar with their cycle because they could work with someone that has no experience. There's a great product, but maybe that person, the manufacturer directly, doesn't get back to the buyer for 3 weeks or doesn't answer, one question out of the 3 that the buyer needed answered. And buyers need someone that's going to get with them right away because they have to make sure their stores have product, they're fulfilled. Fulfillment is like one of their biggest responsibilities now. So that's a big advantage that retailers actually want. And then did you also ask about manufacturers, how they?
Also interesting, yeah. So that's the retailer perspective, but a manufacturer perspective.
Oh, yes. So on the manufacturer perspective, would you go to court without a lawyer? You wouldn't, right? Why would you subject your product to getting discontinued? And we all know, we're talking serious investment. We're talking whether it's from an ownership group, whether it's from an investment group, whether it's friends and family pooling their money together to start something. Why would you not pay the extra percent to give yourself a significant percent chance of getting your product authorized and then scaling it to hundreds, if not thousands of stores? Give yourself the protection.
Do you work with foreign manufacturers or companies based in Europe? Or?
I have in the past. I've spoken to some other delegations. There were some from Korea and others, and there have been issues where sometimes things get lost in translation.
So for you, it's easier to work with companies manufacturing in the US, and maybe that's the reason why.
Or already sterling in the US.
I want to represent the best products. You guys are from France. Let's just talk about that for a second, all right?
Tell us.
The Olympics are going to be in France, all right? You have every major NBA superstar going to the Olympics this year, all right? That doesn't happen every year. You even got Kawhi Leonard going to the Olympics, and Kawhi Leonard can't even stay healthy through a regular NBA season. He's going. Why? LeBron James, Steph Curry. Why are they all going? Because it's France. It's a destination, all right? The Palace at Versailles, the King's Palace, that is one of the most beautiful places I've ever seen in my life. It is special. The wine, the cheese, the brie, the baguette, just everything. Everything. It's a special place. You've got TV shows on Netflix like Emily in Paris that are widely popular, and they have people going to France because of it. So people want an experience, and you guys need to play that up. That's part of your story. People want an experience. When you're telling your story to retailers, play up big time where you're from.
So that's what works for the French offering. What goes against it?
What goes against it are things that get lost in translation. We have cultural differences. You're all successful. You all have million-dollar brands across the world. You want to penetrate this market. You have to act as if you've grown up and you live here. And you may need to outsource and you may need to get help, and it's okay to ask. You know, cultural norms go a long way here. They have local offices in the city here, and they have certain ways of doing business. It's an investment, but it's a benefit to get yourself familiar with how to do business here. Every principal has their own pace of how frequently and how often we need to meet, depending on the needs of the business. And you know, good brokers proactively bring opportunities to the brand. And I also have a great team that all they do is go to the buyer's offices every week, and they're selling one of our brands, or they're talking, or they're generating opportunities. And then additionally, we have zone managers that are strictly in stores, that all they do is merchandise in stores. And increasingly, that is becoming one of the biggest values that we offer, people in stores, for a number of reasons. Number one is retailers are struggling. If you go, you're going to see help wanted signs in a lot of supermarkets. Minimum wage has gone up, cost of labor has gone up. Additionally, some people don't want to work. So our staff has helped supermarket retailers with packing out building displays. Sometimes it's our products, sometimes it's other products. But once that relationship is built, we have something else. You know, 3 months later, hey, they remember when we built that, when we got up at 5 in the morning and did a reset of their whole deli case.
You got a bit of goodwill.
Yes. Goodwill is the grease that turns the wheels around. And you can't see it, but the food industry is a relationships-based business. And you can't just buy that. That's proven over time. That's proven by showing up in the snow, in this heat wave, in doing the work day in and day out. That's where trust is earned. We all know how hard it is to build up trust from buyers, from retailers. You could lose it in an instant. You could have one bad day, one bad minute, and you could lose years worth that you built up in trust.
How many states did you cover?
We cover 10 states
10 states on the east side.
Yeah,
on the
next to
northeast.
New York. Yeah.
Yes.
And in terms of logistics, do you
10
have a warehouse?
states?
Their job is in the stores, so
I
they.
don't know, but it seems.
The key is hiring the right people. All right. The key, like in all businesses, is building the best teams. I mean, I'm a big believer of quality over quantity. I'd rather tell my reps, go there once, spend 3 hours, do it right, make relationships with everybody, and then you come back when you need to come back. Don't just rush to say you did 8 stores today. What's your relationship like in those stores that you went to? When we walk in there together, do you know the assistant manager? Do you know the customer service manager?
Did you say you've got like weekly feedback with your client? So what's your frequency like you launch a new brand, you know, French one, first steps into the US? You know, what's going to be the plan? You're going to say, I'm going to target these 20 store. You know, is it like a tailored plan? Or you
Yes.
I'm going to attack the 10 states straight?
No, that's what I call the bunkers. I love the bunkers. I love sitting down with a brand that is special, and they come in and they say, Zach, we want to target this retailer, or we want to target these 3 retailers, or we want all of the retailers. Here's our budget. How do we do this? And then together we come up with a plan on how to do that. And to me, that's like the nuts and bolts. That's like, you know, the guts of it all, and actually getting it in front of the buyers, presenting it, getting it authorized. And that's the challenging part, because if you make a misstep there, it's not going to happen. So there is a pressure. I enjoy the pressure. And a lot of people look at that as like, that's the hard part. But I enjoy being involved with 2 sides, the manufacturer and the retailer, hearing both of what they think. Because in all actuality, manufacturers are used to seeing things a certain way. They want their products merchandised a certain way. But retailers also have their own way that they think is going to be successful. What I enjoy is getting those 2 viewpoints and generally getting them to compromise a little bit to get to the sweet spot of what's actually going to work.
Thank you. Thank you.
My pleasure.
Are you ready to learn French?
I'm ready to come back to Versailles. I want to go back to Versailles.
In French, please.
Oui, je m'appelle. You know, I don't know too many.
Thank you.
Merci.
Thank you so much.
My pleasure. And I have a few copies of this here, so if anyone would like them signed, I'd be happy to sign and give them out to you. If not, later, then just ask Guy and I can get them to him.
Thank you so much.
Thank you very much.
My pleasure. Thank you all.
And you blocking Net's fan?